Oh, yo, happy Friday, everyone. My name is Justin Moore. I'm the founder of Creator Wizard, where I teach you how to find and negotiate your dream sponsorships. Back for another live stream. Today, we're going to be talking about, do creators need managers to succeed? This is a question that I think a lot of creators experience at various points throughout their journey. Perhaps you've been a creator for a long time. Perhaps you're starting to get a significant amount of inbound deal flow, and you're having a hard time balancing your workload with your art or your creativity and the content that you're creating and so on. And you're feeling as though, maybe I need to hire someone to help me out with this. Or perhaps maybe you're a little bit earlier on in your journey and you feel as though maybe getting a manager is actually going to be the thing that helps take me or propel me to the next level. And it's oftentimes pretty difficult to know when that point might be, or if you really should do that at all. So that's what we're going to be chatting about today. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. I just actually realized that I scheduled the live stream for an incorrect time. It actually said 11 a.m. But as you know, I go live every week at 10 a.m. So I am live right now, 10 a.m. Pacific. So I'm live right now on all these different platforms: YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, even my private community, all those different Instagram. Actually, thank you for reminding me, Justin. I'm talking to myself that I need to pull up the Instagram chat to see if that's actually working today, because I was having issues with that last week, and I'm not sure. I did not even start the broadcast. Of course, look at the amateur I am. Let's see if this works now. I started the broadcast. I'm such an amateur. There we go. All right. Started the broadcast. Here we go. All right. Let's see. We got Curl Code Black tuning in from Canada. Good to see you. We've got Aaron's House of Legos tuning in on YouTube. Good to see you as well. Okay. So let's start off this conversation around managers, talking about the initial decision. Okay. And I think that, this is, again, like we were mentioning, this is kind of the first point where you're at this crossroads and you're trying to figure out, where do I go? What do I do? Is this the right decision? What type of person do I need to hire? And so I firmly believe that when creators think that they need a manager, typically, they actually need a virtual assistant or a personal assistant or an editor or something like that. Someone to manage their email inbox, right? Someone to help keep them on track with deadlines and dates. They don't actually need a manager taking 20% of every deal, right? It's been my experience that when you, as the creator, can show up to a Zoom or a phone call with the brand or with the agency, rather than delegating that to your manager, you're going to close way more deals and get paid more money, right? Because that's why they wanted to partner with you in the first place, right? You're the special one. They want access to you. And another hair that I think we need to split here is the gulf between being a social media creator and what I call an owned platform creator. So this is like a podcaster, a newsletter operator, course creator, so on, blogger, right? These are people who have more of a direct connection to their audience versus kind of building on the rented land of social media platforms. And you almost never hear, let's say, Twitter influencers or podcasters say that they have managers, right? It definitely happens, but it's just more rare. And I think it's for a few reasons. Number one is that there's just less obvious inbound deal flow for those types of creators, right? Number two is that the deal sizes tend to be smaller, right? And number three is it's just not as shiny as having, let's say, 1 million followers on YouTube or TikTok or something, right? And so I tend to think that it's usually the wrong move to hire a manager unless you're very unique to, you have something special about you. Maybe you don't have a ton of followers. Maybe you're a professional athlete or something like that, right? And so again, I think that it's there's definitely considerations here, but just when it comes to like the initial decision, I think, if you are feeling overwhelmed, the very first place that I think you should go is like, what other person could I add to my team to help me offload some of this burden, right? Because you could potentially do a pretty simple exercise, right? Let me actually just look at my calendar on a daily basis or a weekly basis or whatever and see, where am I spending 80% of my time, 85% of my time? Is it creating content? Is it editing? Like, yeah, those are good things, but am I spending a ton of time in my inbox? Am I spending a ton of time liaising with these brands? Like, what am I actually spending most of my time doing? Do I have a 9-to-5 job and that's where I'm, most of the time? And then it's the 5 to 9 where I'm like actually doing, the side hustle and creating content and trying to grow that and all that stuff too. So it's like, where are you spending your time? And if you sit and you look at your time blocks, you're honest with yourself and you think, wow, I'm actually spending 20 hours a week editing my content. Like maybe hiring an editor actually would be the next best step instead of hiring a manager. Like this is the very first thing that most people think is like, oh, I need a manager, right? They're going to help me. They're going to help solve all my problems. But when in reality, like that may not be the best choice for kind of the first hire in your creator business. I hear creators all the time tell me something like, oh, no one can ever duplicate my creative style. That's the special sauce. That's the special juice that I have, which is why I'm seeing success. And I always challenge that. Because there exists someone better than you to like bring your creative vision to life. Like 100% that person exists. Lots of people exist in this world that could help you do that. So maybe an editor is the thing you identify. Maybe it is. There is a lot of administrative stuff that you're doing behind the scenes. Maybe it's not like you're purely a social media creator. Maybe you have a private community and there's a lot of administrative, there's a lot of moderation going on. So maybe hiring a virtual assistant is the next best step. That person can manage your email inbox, triage stuff. That person can help with customer support. That person can help engage within your private community, like et cetera, right? So I think that is a really important thing that you need to be very objective about when you're analyzing, your creator business and figuring out what might be the next best move for you. Let's see. Oh, we got Andy tuning in saying currently on the treadmill at the gym, but I'm listening. Good to see you, Andy. Fourth born child says, hey, Justin, greetings from the Philippines. Good to see you. Coco, hello from me and the baby in Berlin. Congratulations, Coco. That's so amazing. How did the delivery go? How old's your baby now? Is it a boy or girl? I'm so thrilled to hear that you're on the other end of it. And I think it's your first child, Coco, if I'm not mistaken. So congratulations. That's such a special moment. How's the baby sleeping? That's always an important question. How are you sleeping? So thrilled to hear from you. Coco asks, any tips for finding a good editor? So I'll give you, I've worked with quite a few editors over the years. My biggest kind of like tip or hacky thing to do around this is I actually hire multiple editors for a trial project, paid obviously, but basically give them all the same footage. So I film, a particular piece of content that I really, want help with on a new project. And so I will say, I won't give them a ton of creative direction, and I will basically give everyone the same footage and say, show me what you got, basically. Like I said, it's a paid trial, but like that I think is the best way to determine who has what it takes, because, there's different levels of involvement as a creator that every creator wants with their editor. For example, when I launched my new video podcast, Creator Debates, at the end of January, I think I started, looking for an editor like in the November, December timeframe. Like I wanted to get a jump on it. And I even opened up like an application. I sent something out to my newsletter and I had like over 100 applications or something like that. And first of all, the applications were really, really bad. Like I was shocked at how little effort people put in to like what could have turned into like a very lucrative opportunity. I think like thousands of dollars a month. Like that's like what I'm, compensating my editor for all the work that they're doing. Right. So I was just pretty shocked at how like minimal effort people put into the application, but that's another story. And so, I think that really what I ended up doing. So I put out the application. I also opened up like a job post on Upwork. But ultimately the person that I moved forward with, his name is Divya, and he has a team, was a cold email. He shot me a cold email, but this is what I did. I did do this trial with like 3 or 4 other editors, and I just honestly was not super thrilled with all of them. And at the end of the trial, I was like bummed. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then Divya came to my rescue, thank the Lord. But that really, and like I said, every creator has a different level of involvement that they ultimately want to, interface with their editor. Like, I am the type of person where in the beginning, I want to be really involved to kind of dial in the creative style. And if you're a creator and you want to make sure that they're able to duplicate, the special sauce that you have, and you're probably going to give a lot of creative direction early on, but after time, you fall into this rhythm, right? You hopefully develop some SOPs, right? Some standard operating procedures. Like, this is how we edit my stuff, a style guide, basically, a branding document. This is how I want my content to look and feel, and the cadence and the pacing and the story and the narration and all that stuff, right? You dial in processes, right? So for future subsequent products. And so like behind the scenes now, we are just finishing up the edit on episode number 7 of the podcast. And like, we are wildly, like we are now to the point where there's so few revisions on the assets that are coming through. There's still a few revisions here and there, but it's mainly kind of technical stuff. It's not stylistic stuff. So early on, yeah, you're going to have to spend a lot of time dialing in the stylistic stuff. And you can't get frustrated. You have to understand, like, it's going to take time for an editor to really get you and get your style. And so you do have to have a little bit of patience, but it's a little tricky because you can't ignore your gut. If it seems like what they deliver is so bad and so far away from anything that you think could be salvageable, then you have to hire fast and fire fast. That's been my experience. So, but you probably know this in your gut. Like, if you've ever done this, like when you get something back and you're like, I can work with this, like this is solid. Like, they made some really good creative decisions and I trust this and they have a good eye, then I'm going to work with them and I'm going to do a lot of, I'm going to give a lot of notes, but you also do want to see that progress. So that's kind of would be my advice on that, is like, hire fast, fire fast, trust your gut, but really also give them the creative latitude to try things that maybe you wouldn't have done either. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with, and in fact, like, I hired Divya for the Creator Debates project, but I've since given him all the other editing projects. So my Creator Wizard videos, as well as my shorts and everything too. So yeah, once I find someone good, I'm like, I cling on to them and I'm like, yes, I want to work with you. Right. Coco says, delivery was amazing. I had an unmedicated natural birth at a birthing center, and it was the best decision for me. The baby is now 18 days old, and she is the most lovely thing ever. Holy moly, unmedicated natural birth. Props to you. That's amazing. Congratulations. Coco said, I have so much content filmed, but no time to edit, especially with the baby. An editor would be a game changer. Thanks for your tips. Of course. Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of success, over the years, finding folks on places like Upwork and so on. So I would definitely recommend giving that a shot. Yeah. And Coco, the other thing too that I would mention is that don't be shy to ask your community. Maybe put something on your YouTube community tab or something and say, hey, here's a Google form link. I'm looking if you potentially interested. And you would be amazed at, like, perhaps there may be, you could shake the tree a little bit loose of your own community. And the advantage of that is that people are already familiar with your content. They already like the things that you talk about. And so you may just be able to find your next editor within your community, right? So that's actually the biggest advantage. So, and in fact, like Divya, the editor that I'm working with now, he was following me on Twitter. He was following my YouTube channel. And so he is like a big fan of like all things creator economy. So it's just like a perfect fit. It's really a perfect fit. So that's awesome. Okay. So again, we're talking about whether or not creators need managers today. So let's get right back to this. So the next thing I want to talk about is just kind of the money factor. So a lot of people ask, like, okay, what just happened? Hold on, let me just happen. Okay, there we go. We've got Diana, talented editor, talented Tylers. We've got Encouraged by Ashley and some other folks tuning in on the IG chat. Good to see you. Okay, so let's dive into it. So again, we're talking about money here. A lot of creators ask me, how much should you be compensating a manager? And it's typically anywhere from usually 15 to 20%, maybe even sometimes up to 25% if they are the one catching and killing the deals. So first of all, there is a difference between an agent and a manager. A lot of people wonder, like, what's the difference? So an agent's sole job, it's kind of more of like the traditional, like Ari Gold, like, if you ever watched Entourage on HBO, like that stereotype of like the power hungry agent who's like just out there trying to like win you business and get you paid the most amount of money possible. Like that's more of like a traditional agent. A manager is someone who typically is more involved with your career, not just like helping you negotiate deals and sponsorships and stuff like that. Like, typically a good manager will be involved in helping shape the trajectory of the decisions that you make throughout your life. Or throughout your career. So yeah, maybe you want to write a book, or maybe you want to go on tour, or maybe you want to launch a product line, or maybe you want to start a private community or whatever. They help you kind of think about the strategy of, okay, the timing and like, how do you actually want to launch it? And like all this stuff too. So typically a manager will be responsible for more than that. The thing that I think a lot of creators don't understand is that, I get that this is like one of the most common DMs I get is like, oh, I'm killing it on social media. I just want to, I just want to focus on my craft. I want to focus on the art and the content. I don't really want to do the business stuff. Can you just introduce me to someone who, I'm happy to pay 15% or whatever to like have them bring me deals. And oftentimes these creators do not have a lot of inbound deal flow. And I kind of have to sit them down and, give them the tough news that like, look, you have to make it worth someone's time to do that, right? And so if you're coming to a manager, think about it from their perspective. They have all these creators out here who have a lot of inbound deal flow, and they basically can just kind of sit down and like negotiate all these deals, get on the phone with brands, all this stuff too. And so here you are saying to them like, hey, you need to go out there and hustle, pound the pavement, actually shake some trees loose and bring me business. Yeah, I'll pay you 15%. But here they're thinking like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to do that. I've got a bunch of other people who want me to manage them where I don't have to do all that work, and I can just collect my 20%, 15%, whatever. So in those scenarios, you may have to compensate them more for deals that they actually bring in. So yeah, maybe you do negotiate paying them 20, 25% on something like that. Maybe you negotiate to pay them lesser on deals that actually come inbound to you, right? And so you can negotiate those types of creative compensation structures. But you just, again, a lot of what I teach is like putting the hat on of the other party that you're trying to like negotiate with, the other party that you're trying to enter into a collaboration with, because it helps you understand, it helps you be less narcissistic about it and helps you be more objective to try to get what you ultimately want, right? And say, okay, how can I help this person get what they want so that I can get what I want, right? And so, yeah, maybe at the end of the day, if you don't want to compensate a manager, maybe you are going to hire a VA and you're going to say, hey, this is how I do my outreach to partners, to brands, to companies or whatever. I'm going to train you in my outreach methodology. And then when we get we hook someone, right? Someone becomes interested in like, yeah, this thing that we're actually sending them, then you pull me in and I close it basically. In fact, like that's actually, I just wrapped up the 8th cohort of my Brand Deal Wizard course this week. And in fact, this is what a lot of creators do who ultimately go through the program is they go through it, they learn all the strategies, they get all the tools and the resources, and then they delegate it to someone on their team if they do have a team, a VA, whatever. And they say, okay, like this is how, we're actually going to do things here in terms of our pitching strategy and how we're going to respond to inbound inquiries and all that stuff. And then, so you're going to manage this now, right? Now that we've learned how we're going to do things here at our creator business, right? And so that is a totally valid approach. And the advantage of actually doing it that way is that you're developing all that expertise in-house. You're not delegating that or outsourcing that to someone who's not involved in your business, right? And so, because I do believe that represents a somewhat of an existential risk for you as a creator, right? What happens if your manager quits? What happens if they just decide that they don't want to work with you anymore. And they've been developing all these relationships and this little Rolodex, they're the ones who have developed that, not you, right? And so if sponsorships are a non-trivial percentage of your income, that represents a pretty significant risk, I would say, to your livelihood, right? And so again, like I am a big advocate for, I think honestly, the vast majority of creators, it does not make sense to hire a manager. I believe that it actually makes more sense to develop this expertise in-house for yourself and potentially for any team members that you have on your staff. Again, yeah, if you have 10 million followers, if you have, millions, if you have tons and tons and tons of inbound opportunities and you've got all this stuff going on, yeah, maybe it makes sense to hire a manager. Fine. I will concede that. But I believe like the vast majority of creators, it doesn't make sense. The other thing too is that, okay, this is kind of a difficult subject, but when I ran the agency, I was on the receiving end of a whole heck of a lot of interactions with creators managers. And there are a lot of managers out there who are not super professional. They have a gatekeeping complex. They just make it really, really difficult to get things done. They introduce a lot of friction into the overall partnership, especially with respect to, doing brand partnerships. If we need a quick edit made and this content needs to go live, it could take 72 hours to hear back from, that person's manager. It's just another middleman or woman in the middle of this relationship, right? And so we made decisions, honestly, informally, that we were no longer going to work with certain creators who had a bad experience with their manager. Now, again, there are great managers who can help streamline things for sure, but a lot of managers they just were not very quick. They were not professional. I've had people call me up and cuss me out. I've had people who just were, throwing a fuss about the smallest little edits and things like that too. And it just did not engender a great working relationship, right? And so I don't think a lot of creators and I think the other weird thing too is that I think sometimes creators are insulated from their manager's behaviors. Either they're not CC'd on the emails or they don't really understand how that creator is representing them out there in the market, and could potentially be causing them to lose business. This is a real thing. There were certain situations where I actually wanted to reach out to that creator's manager, to that creator directly and be like, do you realize how unprofessional your manager is being? Do you realize the things that they're saying and how poorly they're reflecting on you as a creator, and you're probably losing business? I never really wanted to do that because I didn't want to open up. Like, I gained nothing by doing that. It was more like I just kind of, if I was a creator, I would want to know that. But like, I don't know, there's probably legal exposure there. I didn't want to even go there, but like, and so I never really did, but I wanted to so bad to reach out and be like, man, I just don't really think you realize what's going on here. So it can be a pretty significant concern, like as a creator. Again, I really, really want to provide this perspective to y'all because I really just don't think that I see this discussed very much. There's lots of people wanting managers and feeling though it's going to get them to the next level and all that stuff too. But I just don't see people saying like, hey, you know what? It's okay to not have a manager. I don't see that conversation happening, which is why I wanted to have this live stream today. Holy cow! D. Tesseris just donated 12 pounds via super chat. Holy cow. Thank you so much. That really, really means a lot to me. And in fact, I wanted to answer some of your questions. You were asking about management, asking about social media management and so on. And also another question, new here. Sorry for all the questions, but why are there more agencies like social media marketing, the influencer managers, and so on? So thank you for your question. Let's clarify here because you're right. Sometimes it's not super clear about what the differences are between an influencer agency, a management firm, like this type of thing. It can be kind of complicated. Okay, so let's talk about all the different entities here. You've got advertising agencies, which have nothing to do with this. And so don't confuse those. So an advertising agency, their client is the brand. Okay. So the brand retains an advertising agency to help them execute on their advertising strategy, right? So an advertising agency might reach out to you directly and say, hey, we are working with this brand XYZ over here. And we have determined that we want to work with creators to execute this, part of this campaign. Would you be interested in doing this basically on a freelance basis? We're going to hire you. It's a work for hire type engagement. We're going to pay you this much money, hopefully. And then, we'll part our ways after the deal is done. So that's an advertising agency. just FYI, like that advertising agency likely handles a lot more than just working with influencers. They handle, if it's a media agency, sometimes they'll handle, broadcast TV ads, out of home, right? Which is like billboards, bus benches, print magazines, and so on. And so they oftentimes hire, you'll manage a lot more than just working with influencers. Then, so you have an advertising agency, oftentimes you may hear of something called a PR agency or a public relations agency. Sometimes that's all they do. All they do is public relations. So ensuring that the brand's reputation and the way in which that brand is perceived in the market is well represented. They are usually kind of the consumer facing entity. So if there's any sort of media requests, like from broadcast TV or news stations, journalists, this type of thing, they're the ones that field a lot of that. And then sometimes, they will be responsible for doing outbound outreach to certain influential media figures, influencers, creators, and so on. And so a PR agency sometimes can be different than an ad agency, which is kind of confusing. Some ad agencies do PR as well, and so those are kind of larger agencies, I would say, who have kind of these different arms at their agency. So you've got the PR agencies, so ad agencies, PR agencies. You've got the media agencies we discussed, and then. Over the last 10 years or so, there have been these newer entities called influencer agencies, right? And there's different types of influencer agencies, which makes it super confusing, which is that when I ran my agency was called Trending Family. And we called ourselves an influencer marketing agency, but we did not have a roster. We did not represent or manage creators. In fact, our clients were actually brands and actually other ad agencies. So it's getting really murky here, right? So the people that actually compensated us or hired us for deals were actually these larger ad agencies, again, who were like trying to figure out how to deploy, let's say $1 million worth of advertising capital. And they said, you know what? We don't actually have an expertise in doing influencer marketing. Let's go hire Justin and his agency to actually execute this portion of the campaign for us. We're going to pay, their agency, $100,000 or whatever. Part of, a big part of that is going to be the actual talent fees. We're going to, and then we will actually, as an influencer agency, turn around and compensate the creators to talk about the brand, right? And so again, we did not have a roster. We definitely had creators that we went back to over and over and over because they were just great to work with, but we did not represent those creators. We basically just came to them with a deal in hand and said, hey, we're working with this brand. Are you interested in, in participating for this amount of money, basically, right? And so that is an influencer agency, or that's what we called ourselves an influencer agency. So to make this even more confusing, there are like entities out there who also call themselves influencer agencies who represent creators directly. So they are actually like exclusive representation of these creators and influencers, and they are being compensated, let's say 15-20% on every single piece of, every single dollar that enters into that creator's business. And so, typically they are not out there pounding the pavement trying to find you deals. It's more of an inbound strategy. And so they are your representative, basically. And so that's what makes this whole thing confusing. And then, there is also kind of there's a lot of kind of management companies who do similar things, right? They help you kind of negotiate and do partnerships and all that stuff too. But typically those managers will, again, help you do more holistic strategy work for your business to help you determine where you want to take your career and all that stuff. And so I know it's very murky. There's so many different things to understand in this space. The other thing too is that I have found that there's a lot of solo managers out there, who will manage, a handful of creators, maybe 5 to 7 creators. Because honestly, at the end of the day, I know that there are these certain firms who they say, oh, we have, 10,000 creators on our roster or whatever that we manage. I've always really seriously been skeptical of that model. How do you actually represent that many people well? I've always wondered that. It's giving me PTSD from the days of multi-channel networks on YouTube, because we were in several multi-channel networks over the years. And, we were pretty fortunate to have a good experience with one of them in particular, and we were with them for several years. But there were other networks that we were a part of that were not a great experience. And in fact, like you talk to any kind of OG YouTuber who started early on, a lot of them had really bad experiences. It was kind of the Wild West back in the day, that a lot of these multi-channel networks were being quite exploitive of especially like younger YouTubers. We had no idea what we were doing. We're making all this money, and these companies came in and said, hey, we'll manage you. All you have to do is give us a significant percentage of your AdSense earnings, and yeah, we're going to get you some brand partnerships and all this stuff too. But a lot of the promises that they made, and the contracts were super predatory and all this stuff too. So there was a lot of problems early on, in the days of YouTube in particular. And so that model, I'm always really skeptical when I look at these agencies who have, thousands and thousands of people on their roster. Contrast that with the manager who has, let's say, 5 to 7, people that they represent. I think that, again, if you are a manager who is responsible for a creator's overall career, and especially if this creator is growing, there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of things going on, right? And so I don't really see how you could capably manage someone like that, more than 5 to 7 of those types of people. Imagine yourself in your personal life. It's hard to maintain friendships even with that many friends, right? And so especially if it's a working relationship, I kind of feel like that's the limit. Again, I have never been a manager. Okay, just to be clear, I have never managed a creator, although I was on the receiving end of a lot of personalities, throughout the years running the agency. And so I don't know. It's definitely a unique skill set. You have to be, you almost have to serve the role of not only business manager, but therapist. Oftentimes, creators, generally, have large personalities, and you just kind of have to manage that aspect of the job as well. So it's definitely a unique skill set. And again, I want to be very clear. I have a lot of friends who are managers, right? And I really respect what they do. And there's a lot of, people out there who I really do respect, and I think bring a lot of value to the relationships that they have with their creators. But there's a lot of there's a lot of managers that are not great. Let's just put it that way. So again, I just want to give you this perspective, because I don't see this talked about a lot. And a lot of creators think that, I just need to get up to the point where I can get a manager to be interested in working with me, and then they're going to be my ticket to financial, wealth and success and all this stuff too. And I'm here to say that I think it's actually a more prudent decision. It's a more prudent strategy to figure out how you can develop this own expertise for yourself. And then ultimately, as you perhaps grow a team, that will be a better investment for yourself for the long run. All right, I'm going to take a swig because I've been talking for a long time. Let's see who we've got. Raphael in the chat said, yeah, the money from influencer marketing is each more in many hands except creators. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is the more people that are involved, the more hands out, right? It's okay, everyone kind of needs their take. And so, again, if you have the appetite and the competence for developing this expertise, yourself, then I actually think that's a better investment, a better decision for you in the long run. Look, it's been crazy to me how many influencer managers have actually taken my course. Right? They've actually, said, hey, you know what? I'm actually not I'm not a creator, but I want to learn more. I want to advocate for my clients. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for the managers that actually go through my program, because that is an illustration of people who really do want to get better. They're investing in their own education. They realize they don't know it all. And so they're trying to figure out how they can get better, how they can, forge more comprehensive partnerships, more authentic partnerships with their brand partners, on behalf of their clients. And so, I'm very complimentary of folks who understand that, they really do want to do right by the people who they represent. And so, again, this is not there's shades of gray with this stuff, but Yeah, D to Sarah says thank you. Yeah. Oh, we got the man about tech, Viper. What's going on, man? Justin dropping fire as usual, dude. I appreciate that so much. Good to see you on a great Friday, Vipe. Okay, so we're talking about managers. We're talking about whether you need a manager to succeed or not. Interestingly, for those of you guys who didn't see this, but I actually just dropped a brand new podcast episode with one of my good friends, Kevin Herrera, who is a manager. He's the co-founder of a company called The Machine, which does sponsorship operations. And I just released a new podcast on Monday about this very topic, which is no manager versus manager. And it's a really great debate. For those of you guys who don't know this new podcast I have, every episode pits two high profile creators against each other to debate a hotly contested topic in the creator economy. And typically I have other creators on debating each other, and I'm the moderator, I'm the referee. But this topic in particular, I was like, no, I can't have someone, I have to be the one, I have to be in one corner, basically arguing that creators don't need managers. And Kevin was in the other corner arguing for managers, right? And so I had Dee, who y'all know is our head of community here, and she was the referee. So she stepped in and did a great one. Hanadi said, yes, the podcast was so great. Aaron said that one was so good. You won it. Oh, wow. Thank you, Aaron. Aaron said, I won it. I appreciate that, Aaron. But yeah, if you want to go deeper on this topic, definitely check out the podcast because it was a fun one. All right. So before we dive into Q&A here, I did also want to quickly talk about the final issue here around whether or not, you need a manager to succeed. I think that, another reason why a lot of creators decide to hire managers is they have these lofty ambitions. They think, oh, I want to write a book. I want to go on tour. I want to launch a product line. I want to do X, Y, Z. And I have no idea how to do that. And so maybe hiring a manager is the right move for that. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll concede that if speed is your priority, right, just getting it launched as quickly as possible. Yeah, maybe it makes sense to throw money at the problem and hire those kind of incumbents for the job, right? There's this kind of cottage industry of middlemen and brokers, right, who's going to tell you that, the only possible way to get a TV show or to get a book published or go on tour or whatever is you have to pay me lots of money, right? There's that industry exists. And fine, if speed is what you want, if you want to do this as quickly as possible, go hire those people. It's fine. Like that's not a big deal. However, I believe if you have a huge vision, in my opinion, it's okay to go slowly, right? You can figure everything out. You just make so much noise that the traditional players just can't help but notice like what you're up to, and then they come to you, right? And so I also kind of want to just quickly mention another factor to this, which is that it is okay to not want big ambitious things as well, right? I've met a lot of creators like this over the years who just they keep taking on bigger and bigger projects, not because they truly wanted to, but they thought that that's just what you do, right? That's what everyone does, right? But if you are a creator who is like watching this live stream right now, or you're listening to this wherever, maybe you're in the car, I just wanted to give you permission that if you are content with the life that you've built and you're content with the content that you make, that's enough, right? If you have big ambitions, that's awesome too, right? My point is that, there's many paths up the mountain. And I believe that true happiness is going to look different for every creator. And so I don't hear this talked about oftentimes enough, which is that, it's okay if you built a business, that you are, satisfied with, and you're making a good income, you don't have to keep going for that next level. That is okay. That's a perfectly acceptable choice to make. I've heard from creators in situations where they just kind of continue getting pressured into things by their manager if they do have one, and they ultimately build a business or build kind of a career or an empire that they just aren't super happy with. I mean, you've seen a lot of situations where even celebrities or very large creators, they kind of burn out. They're doing all these projects. They're doing so much. They have kind of a team around them who's kind of telling them, okay, you got to do this. You got to be here at this time. You got to do this. And they've built this like really small and narrow path that they have no choice but to kind of walk single file down this path, and they can't deviate. And I really empathize with creators like that because, they don't have a lot of people in their life saying them like, hey, it's okay to slow down. Like you don't, if you don't want to do this thing, this big project or whatever, then, that's okay. So I kind of wanted to mention that. Actually, in fact, wow, this is pretty interesting. Sabrina, thank you so much, Sabrina, for tuning in and mentioning this. She says, I have not heard from my manager since I turned down a 5-figure deal that wanted my content for perpetual usage. Wow. So first of all, I'm sorry that happened. That's really discouraging. How long has it been since you've heard from your manager? Because again, let's talk about aligned incentives, right? The way in which most managers are compensated is they make a percentage of your deals, right? And so in this situation, the fact that you turned this 5-figure deal down, this meant that they at a minimum I don't know how much you're compensating them, maybe 20, 25%, whatever. Like at a minimum that they now are 2,000 or 25% less rich, right? They're 25% poorer, right? Or $2,500 poorer at a minimum, right? And so like they're salty, right? Because that's how they're compensated. They maybe hustled to try to get you this deal, and you're like, sorry, I'm not going to like grant like perpetual usage rights to this random brand. I'm not going to do that. And Sabrina says, oh, since November, it's been 4 months, almost 5 months. That's really tough. And so, honestly, like I'm really glad you brought this up. Number one, I'm glad you brought it up, not because, I'm sorry that this happened to you, because that is not a great feeling. However, this perfectly makes my point around why I have decided to become a sponsorship coach and not a manager, because I want there to be completely aligned incentives. Like if you go through my program or you're in my coaching or whatever, I am not compensated based on a percentage of your deals. So I am going to give you that same advice, Sabrina, which is like, you should not take this deal for perpetual usage. I'm not compensated based on whether you like close this deal or not, right? Like I am compensated to give you objective advice. I will just as equally tell you, don't take this deal, as, hey, you should take this deal because it's going to be really advantageous for you. Right. And so I believe that this is a new model that is going to be win-win-win. It's going to help, you broker and negotiate better deals. I'm going to feel more fulfilled because I'm not going to feel bad or mad that you don't take a deal, because my compensation has nothing to do with whether you get the deal or not. And even I think it's actually going to be a win for the brands too, because you're going to be able to negotiate a deal that is mutually beneficial. You're not just trying to, because that's the coaching methodology that I teach, which is that you're not trying to take every last dollar off the table. You're trying to build additive relationships. You're trying to build relationships that are mutually beneficial. You're not trying to fleece your brand partners. You're trying to turn these one-off deals into partnerships that are have longevity. And so like I believe that this new methodology of the way in which I'm coaching people is actually like more beneficial for the industry as a whole. And so, I'm probably going to make some enemies, like who are managers who are mad at me for kind of talking about this. But again, like it's not for everyone, right? Everyone has their tribe. Like there's going to be, yes, having a manager is going to be right for a lot of creators, but I think it's actually not the right decision for the majority of creators, right? And so I'm over here beating this drum and again, I'm probably going to make some enemies, but I just feel so passionate about this, is that, I've been in this industry for so long. We've been on YouTube for 14 years, y'all, 14 years. And so like I have seen it all. Believe me, I've seen it all. And so I feel like it's time now. I want to be out here talking about this because I don't see anyone else having this perspective or communicating this, that it's like, it's okay to not have a manager. It's okay to invest in yourself and this knowledge and build the expertise in-house, right? In your own creator business. I think that decision will benefit you for a very long time. Okay, Viper says, time for a new manager. I agree. With Viper on that one. Hey, we got Jenny Lee tuning in. Good to see you, Jenny. Coco says, I've been wanting to get representation from a particular agency in my niche because I really hate doing the back and forth with brand, and I'd love someone to do the negotiation for me. The problem is that I don't have enough deals going to make it look like it's worth for them because I am turning down or minimizing partnerships. I hear you. So one perspective that I have for you, Coco, is something we talked about a little bit earlier in the stream, is that perhaps consider a different strategy. If you are a creator looking for representation and you're trying to find a manager and you think that that is the pathway to help you propel your career to the next level because you think, I just don't like the negotiation stuff. I want to hire someone to do that for me. Why can you not hire someone, perhaps a VA, to do that for you instead? Yes, it's going to take time to train them in your outreach and pitching methodology and your negotiation, strategy. But you will now be developing that expertise in your own business. And yeah, maybe you at some point part ways with that VA, but you will, throughout that process of training them and working with them, you will have developed your own methodology that hopefully you have documented. So now when you do hire someone else, you can say, okay, here's the playbook. Here's the guidebook. Here is how we negotiate with brands. And so you can still be the one to maybe close the deal in the 11th hour, right? You're the one who actually gets on the phone and has these conversations, or you interact with the brands to ultimately seal the deal, submit the proposal, whatever. But you have someone else on your team who's kind of an intermediary doing the pitching or doing the responding to the inbound inquiries when brands are reaching out. Why can you not do that? I actually think, if you calculated how much you would be compensating a manager in that scenario, let's just say that you're compensating an agency or a manager, 20% for those types of deals, right? Let's say that your deals are on average $2,000 to $3,000 per deal. I'm just making this up, right? So you're paying that person, let's say $400 on average, right? For a deal like that. Maybe you're getting a handful of those deals per month. Let's say you're getting 5 of those deals per month. That's $2,000 that you would be paying to that manager or that agent if you were hiring that outside entity. What if you just took that $2,000 that you were going to pay that entity and invested that in training someone that was actually either part-time or a full-time virtual assistant for you, right? Because I would argue you could get a pretty high quality candidate for someone, right? Whether, I don't know exactly where you live, but I think you said Berlin or whatever. So whatever, maybe you can find someone, in a different country or whatever. There's lots of options in terms of finding a virtual assistant, a part-time person, whatever, even in Berlin if you wanted to. And they could also do lots of other things for you, not just doing outreach and pitching and negotiating, all that stuff too. They can help you with maybe editing. Maybe they can help you with social media, helping schedule stuff on social media. They can help you with graphics. They can help you with moderation in on your social media, whatever, right? I'm sure that you could think of other things for them to do, but imagine that you built up this expertise in-house. And yes, you are outlaying that capital, right? So I understand it's like, oh, it'd just be nice to be able to compensate someone only when I get those deals. And I understand that. But if you're going to be investing in yourself, maybe it makes more sense to actually, maybe I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and for the next 3 months or the next 6 months, I'm gonna make this investment and have a virtual assistant, whether it's part-time or full-time or whatever, and I'm gonna train them in, we're gonna develop some processes of how we do this internally. And you could still accomplish a similar thing where, I don't want to have to be the one to primarily handle it. I'm only gonna come in kind of at the 11th hour to close the deal, but this other VA that I train is gonna be the one to kind of do most of it. You're accomplishing almost the same thing that you would be if you were to kind of outsource that to a formalized agency or manager, right? So just a perspective, Coco, because I think that there's multiple paths, there's multiple ways to accomplish the same thing that you're trying to do. And yeah, Hanadi says, yes, that is what we were doing, the initial process of working with a VA to help. There we go. Oh, we got Lila. What's going on? We got Lila tuning in here. Frankie Elf said, sponsorship manager here, 100% agree with the coaching mindset. Frankie F, I appreciate that very, very much. And do we know each other? I don't know. You have a raccoon. Is that a raccoon or a wolf with sunglasses or a dog with sunglasses as your profile photo? I can't tell, but I appreciate that. Look, at the end of the day, the other thing too that we didn't actually mention here, which is another potential compensation structure that you could forge with the manager, is Coco, let's say that you don't have a lot of inbound deal flow. Maybe you offer to do some sort of hybrid compensation. You say, hey, yeah, I realize that I don't have a lot of inbound deal flow right now, but I am willing to pay you, a flat rate of, let's say, $500 a month or whatever it is, plus 10% of any deals that, you help negotiate, or 15%, I don't know, whatever the deal is. But maybe there is some sort of hybrid structure, like base plus commission structure, to incentivize someone who, that, you are acknowledging you don't have a ton of deal flow, but, they're going to be pounding the pavement. They're going to be hustling for you. That's also something you could do. Right. That you could offer a compensation structure like that to a VA if you wanted to. Right. So you can get creative is the point. Right. And I think that that's like again, when it comes to the advice that I give, like, I come at it from a place of how can we ensure that this is a win-win-win for everyone involved. And I believe that this kind of structure around like, ensuring that the incentives are aligned is just like a really important factor. All right, we got Timeless Beauty tuning in on TikTok. Good to see you. We've got Travel with the Harmony. We've got Bear the Bengal. We've got Benji Film Edit. We've got a bunch of people on TikTok today. Thanks for tuning in. Cat Lady San Jose. Wow, Cat Lady. How many cats do you have, Cat Lady San Jose? Good to see you. We've got Carol Volo, Princessa 2133 Amin, what's going on? The Aesthetic Cog, or the Aesthetic OG Black Prism, Glowing Green Landscapes. We got a bunch of people tuning in on IG. Lila said, Cat Lady Unite. Lila, how many cats do you have? I don't know how many cats you have. I have 3 myself, so I would call myself a cat dude. Oh my gosh, I feel like I've been talking nonstop. Okay, so we've been talking all about managers, all that, management, having an agent, what the difference is between, advertising agencies, media agencies, PR agencies, managers, agents, all that stuff. So what questions do you have for me today? Let's do some Q&A here. And Lila says she has 2, Gizmo and Haley. Those are some great names. Yes, totally a cat dad. So our cats' names are Bob, Mr. Bob, technically, Charlie, and Sunrise. Those are our 3 cats, and they've been with us before we had kids. Like I think they're maybe 14. Most of them, all 3 of them are like 13, 14, 15, around then. We don't know their exact birthdays, but they were all adopted from a shelter, so we don't know their exact birthdays. All right. So what are your questions about sponsorships, negotiations, brand deal strategy? I'm really excited, guys, because I have a bunch of in-person conferences that I am going to be speaking at over the next couple months. I'm going to be doing my first in-person event, like a workshop at CEX, which is the Creator Economy Expo in Cleveland, at the end of actually at the beginning of May 1st to the 3rd, I think. By the way, those of you who are not if you're interested in attending, the early bird pricing for CEX ends today. And I actually have a promo code. I think it's Summit 400. So if you want $400 off the all access pass for CEX, definitely check that out, because would love to see you at the event. In fact, Dee and I, let me actually share my screen here so you can see this. Let me pull this over here so you can see this. Here we go. Share screen. Window here. Okay. So this is the Creator Economy Expo. The URL is cex.events. And you can see here, price goes up $331. So that's today. So the promo code that I have, let me actually write it on the screen, is Summit 400. Let me find my cursor. Where am I? Add $400 off CEX all access pass Summit 400. Okay, look at that. I'm doing this in real time. Boom. There we go. So $400 off CEX, all access pass, Summit 400. Definitely would love to see you there. We already have a bunch of people who have signed up for the workshop. I'm really excited. So I'm not only doing a workshop with Dee on the first day on May 1st, but I'm also doing a breakout session on May 3rd, all about, what did I call my session? I think it's called negotiation creativity, how to talk with sponsors so they happily open their wallets. That's the title of my presentation. So I'm really excited about that one. And then I am super excited to share that I'm going to be doing a main stage presentation at Craft and Commerce this year, which is ConvertKit's conference in early June. So really excited to do that as well. But yeah, this one, first and foremost, I'm very I have so much stuff to do over the next couple of weeks because I have to finish my presentations, my workshop stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things going on. So anyone who is in that area, in the Cleveland area, or maybe you're not, you're just going to fly out because you want to hang out with me and Dee, definitely would love to see you there. All right. So what are your questions? I am going to stop sharing my screen and go back to the chat. Here we go. Okay. Hannadi says, is it typical for a manager to get a percentage of the sponsorship, even if we were to bring it in either inbound or cold pitch? A few manager or agencies we've communicated with said they would. We still want to do our part as far as reaching out to sponsors and get a lot of inbound, but definitely could use the help with pitching more. So yeah, there's a lot of agencies or managers who will say, it doesn't matter. We're going to get, this is the deal. We get 25%, 25%, 15%, whatever it is, of however the deal comes in. That's just the way it is. There are managers that potentially you could negotiate with, basically saying, hey, you know what? I want to negotiate a split commission. So if we bring in the deal, you get 10% or 15% or whatever. Yeah, you are going to negotiate it because, that was a deal that we pitched, or maybe it just comes inbound to our, business inquiries email from our bio or whatever. Then that one, 10%, 15%, whatever. But if you go out there and you hustle, you pound the pavement, you get this deal for us, yeah, I'll give you 25%, right? Because 25% of something is better than zero, better than 100% of zero, basically, right? 75% or 80% of something is better than 100% of zero is what I meant to say. And so, yeah, if you can find a manager who would be down for a compensation structure like that, absolutely you can do that. Why not? But you're right. There are a lot of entities who will not be, who are basically just saying our way or the highway, this 20% regardless. Right. The other thing that I just wanted to mention about that, Hannadi, is that, some managers and agents would not be thrilled about you doing your own outreach when they are representing you, because they feel as though wires might get crossed in the market. You could be out there pitching a competitor to a brand that they're trying to close, right? So let's say that, you want to work with some clothing retailer, you and Maya, and then, you are pitching Kohl's or something, and they're over here pitching Target or Walmart fashion or something. And then you come to them and be like, hey, I got Kohl's interested. And they're like, oh my God, you're totally throwing a wrench in this deal that I'm working on over here with this other, brand or something like that. And so that's one reason why some brands or some managers or agents would not be thrilled with you having anything to do with pitching or advocating for yourself or doing anything like that. So if that's something that you want to do and you feel is an important part of your business, then that should be a consideration, because there are definitely some folks out there who would not be thrilled by you doing that, basically. Because think about it, it makes them look stupid, right? They did all this work doing the dog and pony show, getting on Zoom calls, getting on phone calls, and convincing them oh, they're going to be so thrilled about working with you. And then they kind of close the deal and the brand's like, okay, yeah, let's give it a shot. And then they come to you and they're like, hey, guess what? This brand's interested in working with you. And then you're like, nah, I'm good. We're working on this deal with Kohl's over here. And then they're just like, so they look like an idiot. They have egg on their face. They have to go back to that brand and be like, oh, on second thought, I know I told you they'd be really excited about working with you, but they actually just forged a deal with your competitor, right? So it makes them look like an idiot. And that if that happens a couple times, the manager is just going to lose faith in working with you or being, trying to advocate for you, because it seems like you're wishy-washy. It seems like you can't make up your mind. If you continue to turn down deals, opportunities that they bring to you, it's just not a good situation, right? They're just going to lose faith in why they're honestly, they're going to be like, why am I hustling for this person? Every deal I bring to them, they just say no to. So what's the point? And they're going to give up. Right. So, I'm not to say that that's a good perspective, but, again, that's why having a manager who may not be compensated in that way, is going to be better for you in the long run because they're going to have your best interests at heart. They're going to equally come to you and be like, hey, this deal is not good for you. I don't think you should take this deal. Like they're going to equally tell you that and give you that advice versus, hey, like you really should take this deal. They just keep coming, hey, take this deal, take this deal, take this deal, because that's how they're compensated. They get percentage of your deals, right? So that's just my perspective. Not every manager is like that. I understand, but a lot are. A lot are, have that mindset. You saw that anecdote that I think it was your name Sabrina earlier on. She mentioned. Sabrina Latoya said, I haven't heard from my manager since I turned down a 5-figure deal that they wanted my content for perpetual usage. So, and I asked her, like, how long haven't you heard from him? Since November, almost 4 months. So that's chaos. I mean, that's like the worst case scenario, right? So this is real life. This happened. And I'm sure and if any of you were tuning in who have had a manager at some point, you may have experienced something similar to this. Sabrina said, it's important that your manager has connections in your niche. I turned down so many deals because it had nothing to do with my niche. Yeah, I mean, I think that's another consideration, is that maybe your manager is super plugged in to your niche. They have a lot of connections, relationships with brands or advertising agencies within that niche. And yeah, maybe they can just call their friends up and be like, hey, I've got this new person that I represent. They're going to be perfect for your brand. Like, that's worth something. I agree. I 100% acknowledge that. But at the end of the day too, if like they don't, yeah, they may be sending you deals that are relevant, to like the type of content that you make, and maybe not something you talk about on your platforms and so on. So, definitely a consideration. So I appreciate you sharing that anecdote, Sabrina. Holy cow. We're at time. That live stream just absolutely flew by today. Thank you so much for all of you who tune in each and every week. I see you. I acknowledge you. It means so much to me that you're here. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Just FYI, I am not going to be doing a live stream next week because I have some obligations with my family. And so I will hopefully see you the following week. Just by the way, it's my kid's spring break next week. So I'm excited to spend some time with my sister and my niece. They're coming to visit. So that's going to be a ton of fun. And so I'm going to be spending time with them, doing a bunch of cool stuff. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you the following week.